All right, I'm gonna start streaming for Twitch. They have a little bit of a delay. Cool. All right, we are live. Hello, everybody. My name's John Taylor. I go by Arbitrage in the Numerai Rocket Chat. It's also my namesake model. I'm joined today by Robert Smiley, rsmillie94. You may know him either in Twitch or Rocket Chat. He's been an active participant lately, and I wanted to get to know more about him. So this is office hours, not my usual daily scores and chill stream. This is more like a way to get to know folks that are involved in the tournament. And so that's what we're going to do. Rob, I'd like to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Great. Well, first off, where do you live in the world?
Currently in Manchester, hopefully moving to London in the next few weeks. My friend's like by now.
I'm concerned that you had to look out the window to check.
Yeah, I saw the rain. Yeah, definitely Manchester.
Okay, so you're in England. That's great. What do you do for a living? Like, what do you tell people you do?
I'm an actuarial analyst. So at the moment, I'm contracting, general insurance, capital modeling, that kind of stuff. Mainly just Excel and VBA, which is.
I know what you mean. I have to teach Excel at the university, and I try to encourage people to learn to code. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit today. So you're an actuary and analyst, which means you do the math, the hard math.
Yes. Although less math than you think in the job, it is just a lot of like Excel and using models people have already made and regulations.
Indeed. The legacy system, I believe, is what they call it.
Yes.
So what compelled you to pursue this line of work?
So basically did the maths undergrad, was kind of looking at what I could do after, applied for accounting and actuarial, got actuarial, and here I am. It was a bit of a fall into it, but like at first I wasn't enjoying it too much at my first job, but I'm kind of like working away into more modeling roles. So I'm starting to enjoy it a lot more now. And I think my master's in data science has kind of helped push myself in that direction as well.
No doubt. Yeah, getting that robust analysis certainly helps. So what do you do for fun besides code all day?
I'm big on chess.
Oh.
Yeah, I play a lot of chess.
Are you ranked?
So I am online. I've only played a few club games, so my ranking like on that level isn't particularly accurate. But yeah, I'm like 1800 live chess blitz, if that means anything to anyone.
I think that's pretty good. Something about that number stands out. Like maybe I know somebody in similar rank, and I know them to be a very good player.
If you know people who are like 1800 FIDE, that's like a lot better than I am. So yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know enough about it. I wish I did. I just don't have time to do that. I don't have time.
Yeah.
PhD life. So you play chess. What else do you do?
At the moment, not too much. I mean, it's I've been spending a lot of time on Numerai. I like to work out. Got a bit of a slight garage gym installed at the moment. Just some dumbbells and a plank of wood for pull-ups.
Hey, you know what? It's better than nothing.
I like to read about nutrition, like to read in general. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Okay. So you're not just a chess and coding person. You do have some physical interest. That's good. You got to get off the chair every now and then, folks. Just saying.
Yeah. Deadlifts to keep them hamstrings good after sitting all day.
Yeah. Yoga helps too. I have to do yoga tonight. I digress. On a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
I don't know. I'd say like 5 or 6. I like to try like I'm quite open-minded. I'm very like up for trying new things and stuff like that. But I don't know if I consider myself like super weird. I guess like the weirdest thing I've done recently is buy a lamp which is designed for lizards, because it gives you like vitamin D. It's got some like UVB radiation. Okay. So because I'm in Manchester, there's like 0 sun. So I put that on for like a few minutes in the morning.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good idea. I'm spoiled because being in Florida, we just have nothing but sun. Although you have to actually leave the house in order to get some rays. So
yes.
No, I don't think that's weird. I think that's actually pretty smart. That's based in science. It's not like you have crystals and you're like aligning them. That would increase your weirdness.
Like you're gonna get cancer and stuff like that. But
no,
I think it's a good idea.
I mean, it's not like you have it on all day long and you're like an inch from it or something.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just making sure. I want to make sure you don't get like an inch from it and leave it on all day. Pretty sure you'll get a sunburn. Not a real sunburn, you know what I mean. What are you not very good at?
I'm terrible at yoga, going back to that. I can't even like cross my
Me
legs.
too. Child's pose. Look, if you get stuck and you can't quite get there, child's pose is like the go-to. Also just lay on your back and meditate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to give it a go. My flexibility, is
Oh.
probably my biggest weakness. Like it's absolutely terrible. But,
I resemble that quite a lot. Yeah. So you're not very good at yoga because you're stiff as a board like I am. All right. So we have something in common. So this is a fun one. A lot of people, there's some really interesting answers on this one. But if you could have a billboard, like a marquee with anything on it, what would you put on it or have it say, and why?
Don't feature neutralize.
Shots fired.
That's not true, but yeah, I don't know. That was when I saw the question, that was what I was thinking. But
oh, hey, it's your billboard. You can put whatever you want on it, my friend. So he says, don't neutralize. Okay. In what font? What's like the color base?
Comic Sans.
Comic Sans, don't neutralize. Yeah. All right. You have a lot of LOLs in Twitch chat, so I think people like that. That's pretty rich. I like it. I think it's hilarious. So let's talk about you and Numerai for a little bit. When did you start participating?
So late October, I think.
Okay, so you're one of the new Numeratis.
Yeah, I can't remember how I found it either. Like I was thinking back. I don't think it, like I think one of the first things I did was watch your tutorial series on YouTube. But I think I found them from the Numerai website, and I genuinely can't remember how I found the website. Oh, I was like trying to wrap my brains about this, but yeah.
Well, there's a lot of channels, so it's possible you saw it in many places. Yeah. And your memory is jogged and you came in. So I'm glad that you checked out my toots.
Yeah.
Did those on Twitch first, and then we put them on YouTube. And then sticking around too, you're a constant presence both in Rocket Chat and in the Twitch stream. So I appreciate that. It's always nice to see it. That's why I invited you here, because your contributions are pretty good. And we'll get to that in a little bit. I want to preview for the folks watching. You actually have a couple of slides to talk about.
Yep.
Cool. So, but let's stop there and keep people interested so that we can get through your questions. So you don't remember exactly how you found out about it, but perhaps a better question is asked, what do you wish you had known when you started, now that you have a little time in your time in the tournament?
I still feel quite new compared to most people. I don't think I've got like that many years of experience to be able to say, oh, I feel like I'm still kind of starting out. So I'm sure there's a lot of things that I'm going to learn. Like the main one will probably be that you should feature neutralize or something like that. So, and yeah, you probably shouldn't just submit one feature.
I don't know. Maybe we can talk about that too. What do you think is the number one reason people quit?
I don't really know why anyone would quit. I guess if you like burn a lot, but I don't know why if you wanted to quit, you wouldn't just set up a compute with the example model. I don't think there's any reason not to do that. If you've gone through getting Numerai, putting it in the website, I don't see why you would completely quit.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we saw yesterday the explosion of that example notebook that was OLS. And so a lot of people came in, I didn't get the count, but it seemed like it was a couple hundred that made it at least to submitting something. But when I click through on some of the model names, a lot of them haven't submitted since. And so, I think that's part of the question is why go through all of that and then just stop? I don't know. But you stuck around, so that's good. So here's one that is like the meat and potatoes, maybe. Can you tell us your top 3 tips for the tournament?
So what I think more people should do is pick a kind of subset of features and try and get to know them really, really well. I think if you want to go beyond just kind of, following the example model, trying to make slight architecture changes, I think just pick a few features and try to really get to know them, see how they correlate with each other round by round, see how they correlate with the targets round by round. I think there's a lot of information in the grouping which isn't used. And it's kind of too big a task for one person to do. So I think
I agree.
People can just pick a few and try and see what they can find from it. I mean, it's obviously your priors are that you're going to find nothing, but
Are they? I don't know.
I think if you pick like a random set of features, you probably will find nothing. But if you try and be kind of sensible in picking a few, then yeah.
Okay, so that was one tip.
Yeah.
I want two more.
I feel like I'm just going to go into like what I was supposed to be talking about in the presentation.
What about data pipeline setups and things?
My pipeline's terrible. I like have it all on compute. I like was backing things up to GitHub, but then I just stopped, and so now like it's just on a Google Compute thing. And if that instance goes down, I kind of lose all of my code and stuff like that. So I'm not the guy to go to when it comes to pipelines.
So the second tip is don't do what he's doing. That's number 2. So and to take good notes in case something does happen. So
yeah,
you can
take good notes.
your work.
Like, I've had quite a few times where I've like, oh, I wish I knew I'd submitted that when it's done well or badly, and yeah. But I've got a stable set of models now, so or at least a stable set of kind of monitor models.
Right.
So I think it should become easier.
Okay, so I need one more. I gotta get it.
Don't change your predictions after a bad first week.
I like that. Yeah. It is a long game. You have to be very patient. And I know that falls into a tip that I've given for a long time now, is that instead of changing a model, make a change and add it to a different model spot. So you have 15 potential submission spots. So don't overwrite something you've done. Let it run for a while. And over time, just remove your worst performer.
Yeah.
And iterate that way, because you'll improve. It's like a evolutionary process. So yeah, I agree that's pretty good. And here's a good chance for you to kind of hang your hat on something that you want to see. What's your number one feature request or improvement that you'd like to see for the tournament?
I'd like more model slots that you can't stake on, because I know like it's a problem with gas fees and stuff setting up a new model slot, but I like more where it's just like unstakeable. You just submit a model, see how it does, and it's just kind of for information collecting purposes. Also, I want them to release all the data, but I know that's not going to happen. I think I've talked about that in Twitch before, but yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure that's not going to happen, but you know what? You can ask. That's the thing, and they can just say no. So yeah. I'm all about that.
I think it could be possible at some point. Like I was wondering, like if they had enough investors, they didn't really need to like prove to the investors that this was going to work, and it was just had a good track record. I feel like then maybe you could release a little bit more.
I don't know. I can't comment because I don't know, and nobody knows. It's obfuscated, and I think it has to stay that way, because if they gave away institutional quality data, that would be very bad.
Yeah,
like because you could just download their file and instantly you have a very high quality universe of stock. So pretty sure that's why they can't do more data releases or talk about what the targets are, but also so that we don't overfit, which you're doing a perfect job of overfitting, by the way. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm previewing too much there. Too much. So you haven't been around that long, but by now I'm sure you've landed on a favorite team member. Who's your favorite team member?
I'll go Michael Oliver.
Michael Oliver with the vote.
More and stuff. And yeah.
Yes.
Lots of good contributions enough for him.
Indeed. Yes. Yep. I'm a fan as well.
I love Numerai. I love the whole team. It's been a lot of fun to like be part of it during lockdown, because it's been a heavy lockdown in UK, so there's been not much to do. So it's been good to be able to.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah.
We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Vaccine rollout's going pretty good, so just got to be patient with that. Where do you get new ideas for your models?
Going for long walks, letting them just come to you. Yeah. I don't really like sit there and
long drives.
Yeah.
When I drive, I don't know why, but when I have a long drive, like something more than half an hour, I would say, I seem to think about stuff and I come up with ideas, research ideas, not necessarily tournament stuff. But yeah, I get that. Somebody else said walks. I'm struggling to remember who, but yeah, that's come up before. We kind of know what you're working on now, but what else are you working on now?
In regards to Numerai or in general, I'm still just doing this. I'm trying to collect some data. So basically I'm trying to see for the features I'm tracking, how the open rounds, well, the scores for the open rounds on the Saturday, how they, if they are predictive for the round you've got to predict on that Saturday. So I've got like one round of completed data, so not very much, but
Right.
yeah, I'm trying to collect that and then see if I can do anything with it. If it looks good, I'll probably post it on the forum. If it looks bad, probably still post it on the forum and say don't do this. So yeah.
You know, I wish that scientists didn't bury papers that didn't turn out, right? Because lack of statistical power is still a finding.
Yeah.
But we don't publish those papers, so.
Yeah, like I think if I could find that like autocorrelation is terrible and just don't use it, that would still be something kind of useful.
I agree. I agree. Hey, I did this thing and it didn't work. So I agree. San Miguel says showers, not just long walks or drives, showers too.
Yeah. Showers is my second.
I
And the forum as well. I like to, sometimes people post something and it gives me an idea. Like I think the time I really started to do the tracking features when I saw, I think it's Hiryu, Hiryu or something. He was like top of the leaderboard for a little bit and he posted his diagnostics and it just looked like a linear model. When I checked his model and it looked like the correlation with the meta model was changing a tiny bit each round. So I was like, oh, maybe he's found some way of, you know, knowing what's going to do well. So that made me like, right, I'm definitely going to check this and see what happens.
All right. Yeah, I like that. I have just a couple bonus questions that I like to ask, since a lot of people want to get into data science, but it's like not a clear path. It's starting to be. There are degrees offered, but it's not widely available. And you can still definitely break into data science in a non-traditional way. But what advice would you give to someone who wants to become a data scientist?
Asking the wrong person. Like, I'm not a data scientist.
Yes, you are. I don't buy that 1 second.
I don't know. I'd say one of the quickest way you can learn is by joining a community like Kaggle or like Numerai. I kind of wish there was a bit more sort of a community aspect for each Kaggle tournament, the way there is like this. Although I guess it's not as like long running, so it's tougher. But yeah, I'd find like a community of people who all want to do it. And yeah, just try and participate. Like by sharing ideas, you kind of get feedback quicker. And yeah,
I agree completely. Yeah, get involved. I tell people pick a project. You know, don't just like learn for loops and condition statements. Like it needs to be applied to something where you know what the outcome should look like. So pick a project and go from point A to point B and do it in parallel to a system you already know. Like you said Excel earlier, right? Like I can do a lot in Excel because that was my prior training. And so I knew what a finance model should look like in the end. The result should look something like this. And so I just replicated stuff in Excel. And I did that. And I was like, oh, okay. So I can basically do anything in Excel in Python. It's like, that's cool. Let me take this further. And so I, find something in your domain where you know what the outcome should look like, and then just do it in code. Like that.
Yeah, and don't be afraid of using Excel for data science either. Like
I use Excel every day.
Yeah, same. Like
even for the tournament.
Yeah, like all the analysis I've done for my presentation was Excel. So yeah.
Yeah, you can code anything. It's not necessarily the right tool all the time. And the same thing with Excel. It's not the right tool all the time. So no, I completely agree with you on that.
I'd say also to like make sure your maths and stats is good as well before you start trying to code a neural network or something. Like I don't think there's any point kind of going straight for neural nets if you don't know like a little bit of linear algebra and that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't agree because again, it's interpreting the exhaust. I call it the exhaust. So you get a regression output and you can look at the predictions out of sample and you can infer, is it doing good or bad? If I change this, does it get better or does it get worse? And so you don't have to strictly know what's going on behind the scenes, as long as you can analyze what's going on after the fact.
Yeah.
So
I'd say you should know how to do a linear regression before you start doing a neural net.
I do list that as a prerequisite for participating in the tournament. You should know how OLS works and how correlation factors into all of that. So yeah, no, I agree with you on that. So I'd also want to know, if you could step into my shoes, what would you ask yourself that I haven't already?
I don't know.
Got him.
I've seen the questions as well, so I should have like prepared this, but I just
No. I think it's better if you just wing it because your responses are earnest.
You should ask me how my main model is doing this round.
How's your main model doing this round?
Not good.
Not good. Okay. Well, I'll just preview it. The API updated earlier today, and integration test has a 0.1 correlation in the newest round.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. So still really not happy about that. Don't like integration tests to beat me. That's just, but you know what? It is what it is. So I just have one final question. Do you have any book or paper recommendations for people? Like, what are you reading?
So, I mean, because I've kind of just come from my master's, I've kind of put off any academic reading for a while. I've got the financial machine learning book. That's quite good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Marcos Lopez de Prado's book.
Yeah.
Highly recommended. Yeah, I agree. I just don't know how applicable it is to the main tournament, but I'm sure there's stuff in there to give you ideas, especially for signals.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah. Honeycomb does agree. It's just day one. rsmillie94 had a weak start for the previous week also, but it went up since. So there tends to be a little correction after the first day. So, we'll see.
Yeah, I was looking at like how stuff that I've used, like i3 has done kind of how it changed for the rounds that have had more time, and its correlation's gone down, but not by too much. So I'm kind of hoping that it's just a lot of volatility and it should level out, but we'll see.
One can hope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a small presentation.
Yep.
Are you ready to dive into that?
Yeah, should I just share my screen?
Yeah. Go for it. Oh, well, okay.
Wait.
Let me know when you go for it.
Can you see anything?
Let me check. Yes, I just have it on the wrong screen. So 1 second. I need to. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to overlay it here so folks at home can see. All right, take it away, my friend.
Cool. So feature neutralization, first thing I want to talk about. I just want to say that these are like kind of theoretical things that I've been thinking about. I've got no like experimental backing. If someone can convince me that what I'm saying is wrong, that'd be really good as well, because I think I should feature neutralize maybe. So yeah. So the first thing I wanted to show is like, so if I have this like blue line as a prediction, so it's kind of this like non-linear going up, but then going up all at the end. If I feature neutralize this, I get this kind of like negative coefficient at the start and then a positive at the end. So if we're thinking like we're ranking our predictions, let's say this is just like 5 predictions, then we go from having, bottom rank, second bottom, or like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, to instead after like 100% neutralization, we go like almost the complete other way around. Like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that seems like something you wouldn't want. I think what you would want to do instead is kind of just reduce the impact that this feature has on your model. And to do that, you just want to diversify and have lots of different features and models that you're using. Like I think.
So Robert, 1 second. What we have a question, and I'm also not clear either. What are the axes here? So X represents.
This would represent some kind of feature. So could be i3, could be anything, just some feature in the data set. And this is the prediction from your model.
X and then Y is the prediction?
Yes, so X is the feature, Y is the prediction.
Okay.
Sorry, I made these in Google Sheets. I haven't got Excel on my new computer yet, so I didn't know how to put axes in and all that stuff.
That's okay. We can explain it to the folks. That's fine. So I'm just making sure that I follow it too.
So if you have a model and it detects this kind of trend in your data, so the blue line is like the original prediction.
Okay.
So it's like going up and then going up all. If you neutralize this, you end up with a completely different ordering of your predictions.
Okay.
And in a rank-based scoring mechanism, that seems wrong. Seems like something you wouldn't want to do.
For this one feature.
Oh yeah, it's like, this is just a nonlinear, like this is probably exaggerated. I don't think this probably exists in the tournament, but yeah, just kind of showing that, let's go forward. Yeah, like you actually get a reversal of ranks in some places by feature neutralization. And I think you'd want to avoid that.
Maybe. We don't know it. We don't know in advance.
I think it has to be something like that because you're removing the linear component. And so if there's any linear trend, that's you're basically reducing the linear trend to 0 by neutralizing.
Yeah.
And so so it would kind of have to reverse the ranks in some way. It has to go from something that has an overall trend to something that doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just kind of saying, is that something that you want?
I agree. It's weird. But
this is Michael Oliver, by the way.
Oh, I know.
I was just making sure for the folks that can't see the voice behind the veil, that's Michael Oliver. Thanks, Mo.
But yeah, I agree. It's weird, and potentially not what you want. I mean, yeah, you could neutralize like in a one-hot way, which would be even weirder, and it's sort of nonlinear. Basically, remove any nonlinear effect from the feature as well. But that might be a little extreme.
Yeah, like to me, it just seems like this is something you wouldn't want. I know this is like an exaggerated example. It might not show up in data. But yeah, if it can reverse the ordering of your predictions, then that seems bad to me. Like, I think what you'd really want to do is kind of squash this graph down so that, it's just not having as much of an impact, but obviously that doesn't change the ordering at all. But what you want is kind of a low feature exposure without having to feature neutralize. You want to like have enough models using different features that you can put them together. And then like, say if you split it by the, like feature wisdom, feature intelligence, and that kind of stuff, and then ensembled all them models together, then I would imagine that the highest feature exposure you'd have is about 1/6. I don't know if that's true or not, but like it kind of technically would in the modeling sense, in that each feature can only have max 1 in 6 impacts on the overall model.
Interesting. So what's the next slide? You previewed that on accident.
Yeah,
I'm very curious for the next one.
So yeah, I was just saying, like, this is a feature which has no linear exposure, and I was just kind of wanting to put this on to I've got this on as well, just so you can see it doesn't change, the 50% and the 100%. But like, would you like say if you'd noticed this kind of relationship in your data, would you expect this relationship to be more stably present by every era than this relationship? Like, I don't see why you would. Like, I think both should be kind of not neutralized, but kind of, you should reduce the exposure to each model rather than each feature, in my opinion. Like, if you submitted this and did feature neutralization, you just get exactly the same thing. And I don't see why this would be regarded as more stable than.
Yeah, because it doesn't change your rank in that second one.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't change anything. Like, it's moved up just so you can see it, but yeah, it literally just doesn't change anything.
Right.
It's a completely feature neutral prediction.
Okay.
So yeah, like my point is kind of that you don't really want full, like, big exposure to either of these kind of features. But I don't think feature neutralization is the answer. I think you should just build a diverse range of models, which you can then ensemble together, and then you won't have as much exposure to one model not performing as well as it's supposed to.
I mean, I've disclosed that my best models are ensembles, so I would just say from a 4-year run of coming in and out of the top 100, that definitely does work. Now, the feature exposure stuff really didn't become a thing until a year ago, about today, actually. If you look at the forum post on all that stuff, we didn't really start talking about it until March of 2020. And so, yeah, while the topic is still relatively new, ensembling and trying to reduce your quote unquote exposure to any one type of modeling, I think that's a good practice in general. So
yeah, so that's kind of my 2 dummy examples. And then this is just, again, it's Google Sheets. I'm sorry, I couldn't work out how to use the legend or anything. But this is the variance, sorry, the standard deviation of the correlations for, and then in the orange we have just the features submitted. And in the blue we have like it's like the feature minus a half squared. So, you know, kind of like a U shape between 0 and 1. And you can see that like basically this is supposed to be a feature which has 0 linear exposure in the blue, and this is a feature which has linear exposure of, or feature exposure of 1.
Okay.
And you can see that, like, you know, these are slightly more variable, but not that much more. So yeah, basically all I'm trying to say is that just because you have a model that is not exposed linearly doesn't mean that it's not going to be variable.
Right. We have definitely seen that in practice, where we have feature neutral models burning like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, so yeah, I was just kind of encouraging you should have lots of models that are uncorrelated and ensemble them. That's kind of the best way to do well. And featured, like, what do you guys think about this? Like,
well, JRB has a question about that. He asked what's the second plot. So this is the first. The second one was as if it were a standard distribution. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
Again, these are just things that I made up, just kind of like the examples. But yeah, this is just one where you fit some kind of XGBoost and you just fit it on one feature, and it's come up with this being the predictions. Yeah.
Okay. And so go ahead, ask your question now.
I was just asking what people thought. Like, is this something you thought about? Is, like, you know, the reversing of predictions something that you'd considered? Yeah.
No, but Michael Oliver has suggested to me that that I map out feature exposure over time. So to create like a heat map, and you know, just to look at how that changes over time. And I think that is definitely something worth doing, because if you look at the feature over time and you're always exposed to one particular grouping, that will show up in the heat map. You'll see it through time. I think that's informative. I don't do that. Again, I find that my models are built in such a way that I generally have lower feature exposure. So it doesn't seem to impact some of my models, but others it does a lot. Ensembling helps, certainly. So does actually optimizing the model to have a lower feature exposure. And, you know, sometimes no feature exposure is bad. Sometimes high feature exposure is bad. And I don't know that we can model the regimes like that. And Wigglemuse is saying in Twitch chat, when it works, it works. Obviously, any transformation is going to change some of the ranks, or it's just a no op. The change can be surprisingly radical with some models, though. And JRB says, I don't think anyone has ever suggested 100% feature neutral. I think that it's implicit when the example code is at 100%. But yeah, I've definitely advocated for checking a range of values. And yeah, BudBot7 being the best example we have as to what 100% feature neutrality looks like, which did well until it didn't, right? So
I guess my argument is basically just sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think if you did the neutralization in a one hot way, so you basically break the feature into the 5 bins and neutralize that way, it wouldn't necessarily, it would just basically bring it more towards a, it just bring all like your high values on the right side for the blue line down and the other ones up towards 0.5, but it wouldn't change the shape of the relationship. I think it would basically just bring things closer to which maybe closer to what you would want.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so that maybe that's a better way to do it. I've played a little bit with one hot neutralization. I haven't found it to work any better than the simple one necessarily, but I think it's worth playing with.
Yeah, I'll try and code something up and submit something with it. I don't know.
So yeah, I'd be curious to see how this relationship looks when you actually do that, because I think maybe that would actually solve this problem. That because problem. It's hard to know if it's much of a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just intuitively like I wouldn't know why if I predict this, don't know why I would submit this.
Hey Rob, are you done with the slides?
I just have this.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. I want to talk about that.
So yeah, basically I've got two graphs here, and I want you to try and guess. One is just from random numbers, and I've calculated the autocorrelations of. I've basically made 310 sets of 120 random numbers, and yeah, calculated the autocorrelations, plot them as a histogram. The other set is from the Numerai features. I was going to say if anyone can guess which one's which.
Well, that's a very interesting graph, I gotta say. Yeah, you can't tell them apart. Come on. If you did,
I think there is one clue which you maybe could tell them apart, but yeah.
No, well, I think the point is if you did just a standard statistical test, I don't think you would find a statistically significant difference in the two.
No, yeah, I completely agree.
So that's what I'm saying. Like visually, there's slight differences, but come on, like in a statistical test, you're not going to find a difference.
Yeah, I think. Well, I'll reveal. So on the left you have random numbers, on the right you have Numerai.
I would have picked the other way around because the cleaner distribution was on the right there, but
yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that kind of gives you a hint is this one is not centered on 0, whereas I think this one kind of is. This one is like slightly,
yeah, now I see it. I actually wasn't paying attention to that, so good call. I was looking at the shape,
but
I saw the axes. I was like, man, about the same.
But yeah, so basically, like this is just to say that like if you do some analysis on autocorrelation, just because you get quite a like what would be a statistically significant autocorrelation of like minus 0.25 or
right.
Here we've got plus 0.3. Don't be so confident. You want to do some other validation before you start.
Oh, precisely. Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Okay. Well, if you could end your screen share so we can see your smiling, pretty face.
I could zoom on.
I think I can do it. I do it for you. There it is.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
I can just end it. No worries. Okay, so we're back. We're back. Let me just see if there were questions on Twitch. I can't talk. Twitch chat. William says, naturally not exposed is certainly something to shoot for, and that's what I meant by optimizing on feature exposure. Honeycomb was responding to JRB, says feature neutral correlation may be a hint of Numerai's interest. We've speculated on that a little bit. There's a reason they're showing it to us, right? I think they want us to perform well in feature neutral space, I think. GRB is asking for Michael Oliver if you could elaborate on one hot neutralization, if you're able.
Sure, yeah. So I mean, you have all the feature values that are in 5 bins. If you just turn those into, I think, 1550 features that are just one hot version, so you just have a 1 where for all the 0 bins and then if you do the regression in this one hot encoded space, it treats each. It basically gives you these nonlinear exposure reductions. Does that make sense?
Well, GRB asked the question, and there's a slight delay, so I'm gonna have to hope that.
Yeah, so
like
yeah, you can just use the sort of standard sklearn one hot encoder on the feature matrix, and it will give you the 1550 matrix. So it's 5 times as big, 310 times 5. And it's just, yeah, one. So you're just breaking each feature down into its 5 component parts and regressing them individually.
Got it. Jeremy says, yep, thanks, Mo.
I feel like that wouldn't make any real difference to your ranks though, because you'd be doing it to every feature. Like I could see if you did it with like feature clipping, like one hot feature clipping might make sense. But
yeah, I don't know what it would do. It would definitely do something different because it's not just trying to fit a line for the whole feature relationship. And so you wouldn't necessarily, if it has a sort of like, it wouldn't give you these U-shaped relationships, because these U-shaped relationships are what you need to get it to have basically a flat line, to have 0 exposure. But so when you do it at the each individual bin level, I think it's just going to kind of bring them each individually towards 0. And so it might keep the same sort of overall relationship, just to reduce its scale. That's my intuition.
That's interesting.
If you just reduce the scale on every feature, then it shouldn't change anything. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean,
if you did it like in a feature clipping way, then if there's like one feature where you're like massively exposed to, even in a non-linear way, then that would reduce. But if there's a feature you're not, like, I might try that. I might try one hot feature clipping and see how it does.
Do it. Test it in production.
I have no model slots, so if you can give me another one to try that, yeah.
I need him. Oh, now he's shy. That's okay. There he is. Nope, he's still. Hi. I tell my students, you have to stop for babies and pets, and you have to stop and wait. So it's just, you have to do it. Like, this is the way, as they say on The Mandalorian. Okay, so we caught up on that. Everybody said hello to Neum. Thanks, Michael Oliver. Appreciate you. We have some Slido questions, thankfully. This is like my favorite part of Office Hours. I love answering these questions because sometimes we get some really, really cool ones. The very first question, anonymous. Tell us the tale of I3.
So I was looking at the autocorrelations. Obviously noticed some of them were quite big, some of them quite small. Hadn't done any kind of like statistical analysis of like random numbers yet, so I was like very excited to like see what this meant. But I did do the statistical analysis and saw that, you know, they didn't mean that much potentially. But with I3, there was kind of like significant autocorrelations at flags of like 1, 2, and 4, which seemed interesting.
That is interesting. So AR1 is a 1 lag that's predictive for the 1 period, just for folks listening at home. So if you're saying it's AR2 or AR4, it means it's predictive 2 weeks, or rather 2 months in this case. Or 4 is a 4-month predictive. 1 year.
Exactly. Like it's
almost like it's like a long time.
Which is what made me think that it could be streaky. And then I submitted it as a model just to track it. And I saw that it had like an MMC mean of 0.006, which is like 83rd percentile. And so cool, this is something people aren't using. I'll try and put it in. And that also kind of backed up my assumption that it might be streaky, because if it's consistently kind of positive in the validation data, but kind of consistently negative in the training data, that kind of says to me that something's going on.
Maybe. So it's actually pretty incredible. We've been talking about this for several weeks now in Daily Scores and Chill, because you're getting like 100th percentile, number 1 in a given week or a given day for a round. Your resolved round, what was your final outcome on that?
Let me check.
Well, now you have 2, actually, now that I think about it. You just had one yesterday.
There's 0.079 correlation, 0.073 MMC.
That's the highest score I can recall.
Yeah. And it's doing pretty well for the others, but in the new round, it's it's flipped. It's like basically minus 0.05.
But that's what happened last week too for 253.
I didn't flip. It was like slightly positive last week.
I thought it flipped. My bad.
It was like bottom 5th percentile, but it was still like kind of slightly positive. And the really weird thing was, it was like bottom 5th percentile had a correlation of like 0.001 or something like that, but its MMC was 0.01. So it had like an MMC almost 10 times as big as its correlation, which I didn't expect could happen, but yeah.
Now, one thing you mentioned, and I didn't really think about, but you said that the example predictions are negatively exposed to I3.
So example are minus 0.11 correlated to I3. The meta model is like minus 0.16. So
in general, we're loading negatively on I3.
Yeah.
Because but based on the training data, based on what you said, that's true because it had negative performance. And so of course that makes sense, right? That's very interesting. I think that's something people should consider. I know that in general, it's frowned upon to train on validation data. I've mentioned several times that I do in some of my models, not all of them, but some of them. And yeah, I think if you give your model a chance to learn and just do the best you can to prevent overfitting, perhaps then it'll pick up that I3 is actually more informative than just the training data indicates. That's interesting. I'm not saying everybody should do that, and I'm not saying it's a good practice.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I just want to say that I've done that for some time, and it works until it doesn't, I guess.
Yeah, and this week might be the week it doesn't. So
yeah, we don't know. Hey, maybe your 4 weeks is up, right? If it had an AR4, maybe now time's the flip. So
well, that'd be AR16 in the current. That'd be like a 16 round. You know.
Oh, that's true.
So
yeah, that's true, because we have the month, and we may have to devolve that a little bit.
I still have faith it'll flip around, and I can send like a direct message to Jason tomorrow laughing at him because he's never happy. I always keep him updated.
Yeah, Senator Cap says I3 has a negative 0.53 at 254 opening, and OLS is 0.08 positive. I really dislike having OLS models beat me. That just really hurts my feelings, and I'm deeply triggered by that. I just want to say. Anonymous is asking, what's the most important technique in Numerai? Technique? I'm not really sure about this question. Technique? Maybe like whatever you can do, don't look at all the data in one run. Like treat the eras as separate time periods as best you can. I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice I could possibly give. Technique? I mean, I don't know quite how to answer that.
XG boost, all you need.
The Gen XG boost. Views on model validation, and how do you trust one model over another? The validation metrics are just kind of an indication of what would happen if those errors repeated. If you train on validation, you can't infer anything on validation performance because it becomes an in-sample metric. And how do you trust one model over another? Test it for a while in production. Honestly, just don't stake on something until you have a little history with it. See how you do relative to the group and the cohort, and be patient. Be patient. Don't rush this. This is a slow feedback. You really, really want to take your time and iterate with intention. Don't guess. Try to come in with some kind of hypothesis of some kind. I think I've mentioned integration test is my null, right? I think integration test is a very performant model, and so the null is that it is the best, and so I want to try to beat it. And on how do I beat integration test? Well, on several points. I don't want to draw down as much, right? So I look at the validation data. I want what's my minimum score in any given era? How many total negative errors do I have? Do I have fewer negative errors than integration test? Is my median correlation higher than integration test? Like those kinds of things on balance give you an indication, but you won't know until you submit. You have to submit and be patient. Wait a bit of time, get familiar with your performance relative to peers, and then roll on it. So yeah, that's how I would answer the question. Would you concur?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, submit something for a while before you stake on it, unless you're a degen gambler. Then go for it.
I can't speak to that.
Yeah.
Anonymous has a question about I3. If I3 has 20 consecutive resolve rounds of massively positive core and MMC, would you stake big in the 21st round?
I would incorporate into my model for sure. I wouldn't just stake on I3 because
Yes.
you might as well split the ties yourself, at least. Like even if you were just going to stake an I3, you still might as well split the ties. So yeah, I'd at least do that.
Instead of staking only on I3, incorporate into your model. I like that. Give it a little more weight, some representation in an ensemble. Okay, I can dig that. I think I want to re-ask that question though. We have 20 rounds where it did really, really well, and they're asking in the 21st, would you stake on it? You just said AR4 process. I think that streak's coming to an end. Would you think
well,
that
I mean,
streak's
even
gonna
if
go?
you think that like the streak can come to an end, then you're admitting that there's some kind of like predictive thing there. Like I don't know. I've not seen anything to say that I3 is like mean reverting.
The stock market is mean reverting, so I'm gonna go with yes, it is.
I mean, like there's,
but I don't know what it is. I don't know what that thing is, so it's hard to say.
Yeah.
It could be regime specific. Like right now, it's working. And
if it was 20 rounds in a row and it was like plus 0.1 correlation, I'd 100% have it in my model. In fact, like I've got it in my model this round, and that's hurting me. But yeah.
Full degen. Okay, got it.
Yeah. I actually like weighted way more on it than I meant to. Like I was looking at how my correlations stack up with the other like parts of my ensemble, which aren't really parts at the moment. I've kind of messed up the weighting, but yeah.
These things happen. This is one I've speculated on a little bit. Views on target neutralization, why it should work in theory. So target neutralization would be you train a learner on the targets that are provided that have been neutralized to some proportion. Maybe fully neutralized, probably not, given what we've seen for full neutralization on the predictions. But before you train your model, you neutralize the target to the features, and then you train on this new neutralized target. So I'm gonna have to defer to our resident expert if Michael Oliver is still on. I don't know if he is.
He's disappeared.
He had to bounce. I think that's okay. Yeah, he's not seated at his chair. I can't go into the details on that because I don't really know the answer to that. I think I've suggested people try it out. The user Jordy on the Jordy 6 model, JRDI 6, says that they're using a 80% feature neutralized target that from the Kazutsugi training data set, and it's been very performant. I don't know about today, but over at least 20 rounds, it's done very, very well. And I think it's worth trying. I have tried, and it ain't pretty. I'm collecting more data, and then I'll show the results of that experiment. So it's just a little too soon for me to preview that. Unlike Robert, I don't talk about things I'm testing until I have enough data. Oh, SmackDown.
I didn't like mean to. I just like mentioned it on the chat, and then everyone was like, "Tell me more."
You know what? We're all flipping rocks. Have you heard that expression before? You flip rocks, see what's underneath it, right? And so you just start turning rocks over, and that's what you did. You turned a rock over. Now we're like, "Ooh, there's a bug. Yeah. Let's look at that." Like that's what we do. So yeah, in terms of target neutralization, Michael Oliver's back. Maybe I can spin him back in the loop. Michael Oliver, we had a question about target neutralization. So that's training on a feature neutralized target of should it work in theory? Is it a good idea, a bad idea? I was wondering what your take on it was.
Yeah, it should work. I've tried it before. I think it might be better just to I don't have a strong opinion, but I like neutralizing after the fact for some reasons, just because you can't control your out of sample neutralization just by training on a neutral target. You will still get out of sample neutral feature exposure that's much higher. And so it can help, but you probably want to look at your out of sample feature exposure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was saying I've tried it and I'm collecting data on it. It's just not good. I don't know what else to say. It's just flat, not good.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I kind of noticed on like a fully neutral target, I needed more like deeper trees and whatnot to fit as well to get good performance. Your models had to be much more nonlinear in that sense.
That makes sense, right? Because to find any
and-
signal in that would be very
Yeah, exactly. But it's gets a little scary for that reason too.
yeah. Is it random
It feels
noise?
very
versus-
overfitty.
Yeah, yeah, and there's no way to know because of again the target. You're changing the target in a significant way from the bins that it has. It becomes a very discrete range. But anyway, yeah. So I'm running on time, so I just wanted to see if I could get a quick take on that from you. Thank you very much for that. I'm gonna boot you off the first screen. Okay, so Senador Anarcho-Capitalista. What is the most important topic in math and or statistics, in your opinion, to better understand the tournament modeling and data? Oh man. I'm gonna defer to my math experts. What do you think, Rob?
I don't know, like linear regression.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
the-
that's because that's our function, right?
Yeah.
I think that's really it. I don't.
I would have said regression as well.
Yeah, but I don't.
Regression is like the solution for most things. I mean, even classification is really just regression.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the end all be all, and we're just trying to find the best way to do this and generalize for a long period of time, and we're all still finding that. So yeah, I think that's really the best take we can get. Anonymous, what kind of exploratory analysis do you recommend? How about you, Rob? What do you say?
Oh, like as I said in my tips before, like get to know some features really well. Don't like try and explore all of them, but pick a few, track them, track their correlations, track their performance, and see if you find anything.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just stepping into the tournament and you take a look at the data and just do your normal mean, median, mode, that kind of stuff, like descriptive statistics per feature, perhaps, maybe look at it over time, you're going to find nothing, right? Because it's centered, it's normalized, and you're not going to be able, the human eye isn't going to notice anything. And so this is a very interesting challenge. And I think you're probably right about that, Rob. Pick a feature group and look at how they interact over time. And you'll build some basic models, a couple of OLS, maybe run the example predictions, take eras out, see what happens, overweight certain eras, see what happens. Like, I think that's where a lot of stuff can be learned just by tweaking around with what subsets of data you look at. It also, there's a lot of examples that are provided already, and I would check out the GitHub, the example folder in the Numerai GitHub for sure. Anonymous, any tips for a software engineer trying to compete in Numerai? I think you're halfway there. Again, regression. Submit a model and watch what happens. Do small changes and be patient. Hang around the community chat. Check out our Daily Scores and Chill stream and ask questions and participate that way, because I think you'll learn a lot too. I think that helps the learning curve a bit. Just, again, being involved. And, also I would just say, I think we're due for a fireside chat soon. I believe we're about to enter the next quarter. And so the last question, I'm just going to let that one go for a little while, because questions for the team, I think that's a more appropriate venue to ask, like, when would they consider adding autocorrelation or turnover? I think that, that's a good question to ask the team. And I think we can maybe nudge them, little elbow suggestion. Hey guys, time for a fireside. Anson's looking at the screen like, oh man, I don't want to do another fireside.
No, we're gonna do the fireside.
Sweet.
I'm excited for it.
Oh, he is excited for it. Here, I'll put you down on I'll pin you to the screen, let you talk to the folks. So sometime soonish. I won't peg you to a date. Cool.
Yeah, soon. I
Awesome.
think end of the quarter. It's yeah, and NJ's on
Cool.
schedule.
All right. I mean, I'll take that.
But yeah, autocorrelation and turnover is something that we care a lot about, especially turnover. And that's one of the sort of biggest disconnects in the tournament right now between what we do live and what you guys do, is the issue of turnover. And so it's something we are thinking about a lot.
Okay, cool. I missed some Zoom questions. I'm gonna go to them real quick. I'm gonna go a little bit over on time. I try to keep to an hour. I'm gonna go over today. William Muse wants to ask Rob, what are your favorite chess openings?
I just answered in chat because I didn't think he was going to.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Yeah. And then I like the next one. It's Neutralized King's Gambit.
I'll have to learn that one.
That was a joke, I think. Honeycomb wants to know when stake management. I am gonna actually ask that one because I want to know.
Soon.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's cool. Thanks. I love it. So seeing no further questions, I want to thank Rob. Thank you for coming on today and talking to us about I3 and autocorrelation, feature exposure, and stuff. Also, Michael Oliver, thank you for piping in on a few of the feature neutralization stuff. We appreciate that. And Anson for talking about maybe doing a fireside. Appreciate you for there too. And hey, you know what? I'll do Daily Scores and Chill tomorrow. And I'll do that at 15:30 UTC. So thanks again, everybody. I appreciate you coming on today. Have a great day, and may the burn be in your favor.
Thanks, Rob. Great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you all tomorrow.